Hello, everyone. It's Thursday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies. YK in the building. YK shoes are off the hook today. I told the cameraman to please, we have to get those shoes.
We need to take a look.
Beautiful. Lovely. YK, you say you made that scarf.
You know what? Because when I bought the shoes, they have that leopard skin colored. So I wanted to wear black and white, and I wanted so I took one of my scarves, cut it, and made it. So I have.
So you can actually, that means you can take any scarf you have.
Yes.
And then change the color. That's
that's what I'm going to start doing.
Nice.
All the scarves, I'm just going to. When I want to wear yellow one.
Yeah, a fashionista, we know.
Obviously. How are you doing, YK?
Fine. Today
is our new road. Okay.
Today is my nephew's birthday. I know I wish he would be watching. Tumishe, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Tumishe.
He's 13 today.
Oh,
you know.
13.
Oh,
I remember that age.
He's a teenager. He has become a teenager. Both of them are ready to. Yes, we're ready. We're ready.
YK, how is your road? That's your new road that they are doing. Please tell us about it. Give us an update.
My latest friend. Oh. I see when I was coming out of the street today, come and see cars. Feel. I said,
what's happening?
So people have said, so now there's go slow because the road is good.
Everybody's now on the road now.
Everybody's now on the road.
Before, everybody should stay in their house, but now that the road is better.
I just pray that they tie it. They haven't finished it. They just put stones. But if you remember what it was like, it's just like heaven.
I still went to, I remember myself at Opeyemi came to your house not too long ago. So, and I know the pain. Just to drive through that road is horrible.
You see that kind of road is where robbers will meet you because there's no speed you can speed.
Yes. I understand.
I'm happy for you, YK. It's good. So we're thankful to that.
Beautiful. I love it. So I just pray that they tie it before rains come, so that we can just have that peace.
Okay.
You know, we have turned to Ikoyi. Alagbole don't turn Ikoyi now.
Alagbole story. Road or no road, I ain't going to know Alagbole. I'm sorry.
Wow. See your life. See your life.
It's not fair. I'm doing amazing. Just grateful to God. A lot of beautiful things have been happening to me, but I'll be taking them one at a time. One day I'll release one, another day I'll release one. So the one I want to release today is the training I'm about to do. I want to start teaching people how they can actually start their business with zero cash. I grew up among the Igbos. I'm an Igbo myself. And I realized that there's a certain way they do businesses, and that's why they thrive all over the world. There's nowhere you go to in the world that you don't see an Igbo business. And when they come, they take over the markets. So I have done different businesses and failed at them. So I had to go back to the drawing board, like, why am I failing? Is it that I don't have the head for business? And I don't believe I don't have the head for business. So I decided to use some of their methods to try my own business, and I'm succeeding already. You don't want to know what my business is worth. Business I just started in March. I'm relaunching another one again. So I just want to train people on how they can actually start. You don't have to wait for people to support you, get you funds, you know. Just a few techniques that you use and you can start.
Fantastic.
So registration is ongoing on my page.
Fantastic. Well done.
Thank you.
And
other good things are happening.
We know.
So you have moved.
Hey, Holy Spirit, YK.
That's not the good thing I'm talking about.
That one is good, though.
The other good things.
There are other good things that are happening.
You don't talk about the movies you're doing. You don't want to talk about that
yet.
I'm excited about the lead role.
Yeah.
She had a lead
roles now.
Fantastic lead role. I'm waiting for her. I'm waiting for that movie to launch.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to see her. Two lead roles. Imagine that. She has gone. She has blown. Our BC has blown.
Don't blow.
So we're excited about that for you. That's good. Well, congratulations.
And you're looking more beautiful by the day. Is it 40? Is it something about
Honestly,
40?
Life begins at 40. Hey. I don't know. I'm just, I guess I have that inner peace, and I also have that contentment. I'm not looking for everything. I know what I'm looking for, and I'm satisfied.
You're not
I'm not competing with anybody. I like where I am. I like where God has put me right now, and I will grow at my own pace. I'm not competing.
I love that.
Yes, I'm growing at my pace, and I'm fine with it. So that's it. Okay, it's Thursday. We have loads of gist for you, but first, let's go through the front pages of the paper. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Right, we're going to start with Vanguard today. Vanguard. Insecurity, federal government failed, says Papa Nuncio. ACF laments. Businesses hail Kama 2020 as pastors howl in protest. 7 students writing WASI in Gombe test positive for COVID-19. ECOWAS suspend Mali over coup and slam sanctions. Wadameda, MPN lost an intelligent, gentle giant. Violence threatens Edo governorship polls, and NDDC Akpabio Ponde under investigation, says EFCC. Okay, let's start with the major headline. Papa Nuncio from Catholic Church. Go ahead, Waike.
Yeah, the Arewa Consultative Forum, they are lamenting about the insecurity in the country, and how people and their belongings are not safe. Yes. And there was a quote that you took. Please take that quote before I go on to talk about the Boko Haram. No,
so what happened was that Papa Nuncio was from the Catholic Church. We're here celebrating with, I think, the Nigerian chapter of the Catholic Church. And whilst he was in Nigeria, he was saying that federal government has failed in securing lives and property, but we should focus not on the fact that Christians are killed alone, that also Muslims are being killed. So it's easy to fall in that trap of saying only Christians in Southern Kaduna are being killed, but across the north, Muslims and Christians are being killed, and the federal government must protect the lives of all citizens.
Yes, and that goes back to the fresh onslaught in Borno on Tuesday night. Yes. They went into Kukawa, and they said they fired shots in the air, to tell them that they were coming. They operated for 2 hours. Troops were killed before they were able to repel them. I don't even know, they burnt the freshly built hospital, So I cannot even imagine, because I remember watching it on Journalist Hangar when he had done that hospital. I don't know if it's the same hospital, but
it's painful.
Go on. Really they're destroying the place.
Yeah. 7 students.
And this is what this government ran on.
Yes.
And security. So it's not looking well good for them at all.
But let's take one more story now.
Yes, 7 students of government's girls' secondary school, Doma, in Gombe State, have tested positive for COVID-19. We know that they resumed on the 4th of August for examination classes to be able to take their examinations. And so far, they've been able to, according to the Commissioner for, I think it was... Education? Yes, Commissioner for Education said that they were able to run tests for 1,100 students already. They give preference to students who were coming from high-risk states. And the students who have tested positive, is not going to affect their examinations. They're still going to let them write their exams, and more tests will be ongoing.
Let's move on very quickly to Daily Trust. Boko Haram fighters kill soldiers, abduct 100 in Borno. I think Waike mentioned some of that story already. Obasanjo, I wish to live beyond 100 years old. Edo, PDP APC trade blame as Amnesty raises alarm over violence. And Mamandaura in UK for medical attention. Wow. Which story are we taking?
The major story. So she's
How
taking
did you get there with lockdown?
most of the stories.
Sorry.
But she's taking most of the story. But what happened in Kukawa was the fact that the military was told that there's a lot of Boko Haram activities happening in Kukawa, and so they should go there and monitor what's happening. Unknowing to them, someone had tipped off the Boko Haram insurgents in Kukawa, and they ambushed the officers. That's exactly what happened. They were able to cut away with about 100 persons, including young girls from that community.
Let me take our former president's story. He was saying he was actually attending the 1-year anniversary of the famous Egba monarch, the Agura or Bagura, Oba Sabiru Bakari Jamolu II. That was where our former president Obasanjo was. And he was telling them that he would like to attend his 20th anniversary. So he prayed that God would give him 20 extra years to live 100 years. And after that, he would like to go to heaven.
Yes.
But I thought he didn't know his age.
He said he's 83. Well, I don't know. Baba, Baba believes that he's going to heaven. Well, I believe by God's grace he's going to heaven.
Amen.
Okay, let's move on to the nation. UN, AU, US, ECOWAS, others reject Mali's coup. COVID-19 spike, varsity shot 1 week after reopening. Killings persist in southern Kaduna. EFCC gets petition on Akpabio and Ponde. Protest over escape of Oyo killer suspect. Okay, which story are we taking in the nation?
The protest.
Okay.
So there was a killer suspect who was arrested. I think he was 19-year-old, Sunday Shodipe, who was involved in serial killings in Oyo State. And then he was arrested, and all of a sudden he ran away. He escaped custody. And so students of the university, I'm trying to get the name of the university, protested, saying that you can't say that you can't keep a 19-year-old criminal in custody. You have to bring him up, because immediately he escaped, he went ahead and killed another woman that same day. So they were saying that if you don't really find her or bring him to justice in 2 weeks, we are going to come back and repeat this protest.
Let's take the major headline, the coup that happened in ECOWAS. Obviously, everybody is saying UN, AU, US, and even our government, ECOWAS, have totally condemned it. ECOWAS has suspended Mali, saying that they understand the plight of the people, but it must be done democratically. You cannot undemocratically remove a government. And that, so they've asked that all the boundary countries to lock their borders so they don't allow trade towards Mali, and asking that the people should stay calm while the ECOWAS is still working on see what they can do to bring peace back to that country.
I really don't want to think about that, because to me they are just like, this when you are just shouting and you cannot do anything. The coup has happened. I remember our president went there a few weeks ago to try and broker peace.
Jonathan was there.
Jonathan too went there to broker peace. Immediately after Jonathan came back, the coup happened. So please, they should stop shouting.
You see, we have to condemn it, because we don't want anybody to think as if having a coup is still acceptable. All the nations of the world have condemned it. We have stopped.
It can't even happen.
Coup is in our history.
It can't happen here.
It must not happen again.
What they have put in place here, coups cannot happen in Nigeria again.
Amen. Moving on quickly to The Punch. Ethiopian airline defies federal government, resumes flights to London on Friday. 8 of our staff tested positive of COVID-19. That's OOUT. That's, I think...
Opeyemi took that one.
Yeah. Ogun prophets arraigned for defiling 15-year-old girl during spiritual cleansing. MTEF's Senate threatens to sanction CBN, MPA, FIRS, others. Let's find another story we've not taken. Opeyemi disowns viral presidential campaign poster by local government boss.
Major story?
I didn't read that one.
Yes, so there's this, the federal government put a ban on domestic and international flights as a result of the COVID-19. But there's this indication that Ethiopian Air is about to violate this ban. Because according to the federal government, they are lifting the ban on the 29th of August. But then investigations have shown that the Ethiopian airline have a flight that they are going to be taking off on Friday, 2 flights actually to London on Friday. And then their media consultant was asked, and he said he has no inclination on what's happening, that normally they do evacuation flights, and he knows that the federal government had gotten them to do evacuation flights from America. Yes, but he's not sure what is happening.
So that was, I think it was a reporter from Punch that did that.
But stakeholders are also saying that you can't say you don't have, because they checked and they found out that one of the flights was already almost booked out, just 1 seat left. So you can't say you're doing evacuation where people are actually paying and buying tickets for themselves.
The group captain Ojikutu said that is what the problem, because these so-called evacuation flights are charging premium. Premium for these so-called evacuation flights.
Okay,
so these are not really, so
it's more like commercial flights at the end of the day.
They're commercial and they're, double.
They've abused the evacuation for approval.
Yeah, and that's why in this country, one law for the haves and one law for the have-nots.
Moving on now to Daily Sun. EFCC begins probe of NDDC and Akpabio. Nigerians in Canada protest scarcity of passports, embassy shuts operation. Magu, drama as security operatives whisk lawyer away. Ohaneze will drive Igbo president's project. I have 2 stories in fact, I have 3 stories in Daily Sun.
All right.
Let me start with Magu.
Please.
So when there was a gentleman that was about to testify. Oh, why do you have that story? Please go ahead. If you have that story, let me
he was about to testify. Human rights lawyer Victor Giwa, he was talking, they just stopped him, carried him, and took him away. Apparently, he was supposed to testify against Magu, but he
made a U-turn.
Because he is saying...
Yes, he made a U-turn. He had actually agreed to testify against Magu. When he now got to the dock, he was now ready to say, no, Magu did not collect 7 million naira. 75 million naira. So when they said, uncle, you want to go? They just whisk it. How dare you try to go you make a U-turn when you agree that you testify against Magu? So that's what happened. That was the drama. Then I was going to take the Nigerian in Canada story. What happened was that the Nigerians, the commission in Nigerian High Commission in Canada were complete. They had to shut it down. According to them, Nigerians are protesting the fact that they couldn't get their passports. And their issue was the fact that because of social distancing, they only allowed a certain amount of people inside the commission. Now, some groups just came out and demanding and hitting the glasses and breaking down the doors, insisting that they have to go in. And part of their frustration was the fact that now, some groups just came out and demanding and hitting the glasses and breaking down the doors, insisting that they have to go in. And part of their frustration was the fact that they've been trying to get this passport for a while. But because of the airspace lockdown, they couldn't bring in this passport from Nigeria. So they had that challenge. But Nigerians there, according to the commission, were not listening to their own side of the story. So they now came very unruly, hitting our doors, and then they had instruction from Nigeria to shut down the commission. But that's the side of the commission. Nigerians and tell us their own version.
Because you have to really look at this thing with 6 eyes, not 2. This Nigerian Commission, this is how they have been doing. It's not COVID that has caused this problem. I remember my daughter standing outside in the cold. 2 hours, they didn't let her in to get her passport.
Okay, let's take Ohanes Ndigbo for a second.
Yes, so the secretary of Ohanes Ndigbo, Chief Chuk Siwebu, has said that they are going to be organizing a 5 million man march. They are going to be getting all their professionals from different businesses, traders, organizations to work together so that they will build capacity and ensure that they project somebody, not just among the elites who are likely not going to be, whose interests are likely going to be in their pockets, but they're going to pick someone who would represent the Igbo extraction for presidency. And all this talk of open it, make it general for every other person is against equity and fairness, is the turn of the Igbos, and the Igbos should get it. So that
we're all here in this Nigeria. We'll wait. I mean, this will be a good sight to see 5 million man march.
I would love to try an Igbo president.
Let's see.
Because they haven't tried it. Let's see. Because we know that economically the Igbos are sound.
Business-wise.
So reasonably, it does make sense. Reasonably, it does make sense. But unfortunately, it's beyond what is reasonable. A lot of factors come into politics becomes president. So on that note, we have to go on a break. When we come back, I have a few other topics to discuss. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So according to reports, parents generally are not very confident about discussing sexual issues with their children. Along the way, a lot of young people miss out on valuable information on how to protect themselves or even when to start this conversation. Joining us on the show is a reproductive health educationist, Opeyemi Adeyemi. Good morning, madam. Are you there?
Good morning, Ma. Yes, I am.
Good to have you on the show. Right.
Thanks for having me.
So this is a very important topic, especially for teenagers. Well, I mean, people like you always tell us to start this conversation early in life. But I would like to start from when they're teenagers and their body begins to change and parents have difficulty in starting that conversation. In your view, when is the best time to talk about this?
I believe you should start early because now things are changing. We have what we call age-appropriate sex education. So what you tell a toddler is different from what you tell someone who is just about to get into preteen. And what you tell a teenager is also different. With the rise in sexual assault and the rise in child molestation, I'll say it's better you let them know things like consent, things like the good touch, bad touch. So for someone who is between the age of 2 and before they are preteens, they should know about their body. They should know about the good places that people can touch and places that are bad for people to touch. So we call the private areas the bad touch. So teaching your child that would help them to know when they are being molested and when things are inappropriate for them.
Right.
Also allowing them to understand what relationships are, who is their dad, who is their mom, who is the uncle, who is allowed to take a bath for them, who is allowed to leave them in a certain area, and who is allowed to, do things with them. So we say it's age appropriate.
Right.
And then when they're about to go into their preteens, that's puberty stage, then you start talking about anatomy, you start talking about some of the changes they will see as they grow older. You also reinverse and you enforce consent as well, because I believe one of the things to also teach is consent, giving permission to allow people touch you or people hug you or people do anything to you, basically. So having control of your body is also important. Another thing to teach preteens is also let them know things like the body changes, what they should expect in puberty, menstruation, menstrual hygiene, for guys, things like what's it called, early morning erections and stuff like that about their body, so that they're fully aware.
Okay, let me pause you for a second. Go ahead, please.
Yes, so I have an 11-year-old who has rapid growth, and she's looking 15 already in all ramifications. Now, the talking to her about the privates and consents and all of that is easy for me, but I believe that there are certain conversations I should be having with her about sex right now, and I'm at a loss on how to start up the conversation, on how to, you know, I don't know how to say it. I felt I was prepared for this, but obviously I am not. So is there any tip on how, because she has gone past the changes, she has gone past the changes in the body and all of that. She's seen all of that. But now how do we move on from that to the real conversation on sex? How do I, help my case?
I always say that you can start anywhere. Any conversation can start anywhere. So you might be watching a movie, and that could be the start of your conversation. Okay. You might be passing through somewhere, and then you notice she's inquisitive about something, and you might start the conversation from there, because children actually know these things. A lot of times we think they are unaware, but you'll be surprised at how much they know, especially when they've gone to you.
Ooh, we can't hear you. Yeah. We can't hear you, Okwe. We're having audio issues. We might have to reconnect with her. Please try to get her back on.
Yeah,
that's an interesting angle.
What I wanted to even ask her, because I remember when I was growing up, like Obiajulu's, oh, she's back. She's back, yeah.
So, Okwe, we lost you for a moment there. Please, would you like to start over, please?
Okay, I said for that person, it would be very important to start from anywhere, because anything can happen. Right. I understand that when it comes to sex, parents worry about, if I give them sex education, am I giving them too much information to allow them to start that journey? But for someone who is as young as that, you can inculcate your values and the reason why you believe in things like abstinence. So when you talk to them, you let them know, okay, I understand that at this age you might be having a crush, because you would be surprised, they're already having crushes.
I know.
They're already having some set level of feeling towards somebody else, but they're not bold enough to come and tell you, because they feel it's weird.
This thing called crush, this crush thing. So, okay, let me let you finish. Go ahead, please, because I really have a question on the crush.
Okay, so I would say that you could talk about your experiences too. You could talk about your own personal experience and why you think they should wait, why they should concentrate on their future, why this is not for you at the moment, but start that conversation. Let them hear it from you rather than from someone from the outside.
Fantastic. So this crush thing, is it until they're teenagers, or can children, 6-year-olds, 7, have crushes? Because sometimes they watch these silly programs on television where they are seeing all these characters, young teenagers, talking about boyfriends, talking about kissing. I mean, we see it on television, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is supposed to be child appropriate, but I'm seeing teenagers, young teenagers, talking about boyfriend or having secrets, having dates, and I'm like, what is going on here? So please tell me when to start thinking of crushes.
The generation has changed by far. I think things that we weren't seeing then and what's happening now, even down to the cartoons, there are so many things happening now. So it would be, I don't want to use the word, it would be wrong for a parent to be naive to these things. But yes, they're allowed to have crushes. And by that age, they don't know it's a crush. To them, they just feel like they like this person specially than other people. So you have to explain to them it's okay to have crushes, it's okay to like someone, but okay, fine, these are the boundaries that should be in place. To them, it's okay to have crushes, it's okay to like someone, but okay, fine, these are the boundaries that should be in place. So you have to discuss those boundaries. And that's why it's easy for child molesters and for people who prey on children to easily get them because they use things that they are not aware of or they are naive of to play with their mind.
Right.
So you have to be a step ahead. Every parent now has to be a step ahead. So when it comes to detecting, like I tell parents that it's very easy to detect a child molester if you're observant. Because one of the very first things they do is that they watch you as a parent, how you react to simple things. So for example, they might come around and say things like my wife. And as a parent, you don't say anything. They keep that. They might come another day and say, oh, come and sit on my lap. And as a parent, you don't react. They might come another day and start giving the child sweets, biscuits, things that the child likes. So they're gaining the trust of that child gradually, but you are not paying attention to it. Right. So by the time they start to, defile the child, it's already late because they already gained that child's trust. Right. And the child feels like it's an okay thing. So that's why I said it's good to talk about these things early. Okay. So that you can differentiate what is appropriate from inappropriate. Right.
Yeah, I was going to say there are two things. How do you, as a teenager, like Obiajulu's daughter is growing up, Morayo's daughter is going to start getting breasts soon. Now, her siblings who are considerably younger are going to start to make fun of her. Ah, look, breast! Because I had it growing up. When my breasts are coming out, my brother and my sister who are younger than me, look, Yanni's getting breasts, So how do you deal with that issue? Because then the older child starts to feel self-conscious. Yeah. Now, okay, answer that one first.
I totally understand that. I was with my cousin 2 days ago and we were talking about that. And she was so shy. She was like, no, I don't want to talk about it. So I totally understand. At that age, you're very conscious of your body. You're comparing your body because some people, bloom late. Some people bloom early. Some people it's rapid. Some people it's slow. So there's that time of self-awareness and also self-esteem issues happen around that age. So as a parent, your job is to reaffirm. So words of affirmation, don't joke around with that. Tell them positive things about their body. Don't,
the
even
children.
when you see the younger ones making fun of that, you have to correct them. You have to ensure that they do not do that so that she builds that self-esteem. She builds that confidence in herself.
Okay. Oh, wait, can I ask you a question? If you see a child, I mean, I know somebody was talking about the fact that her 6-year-old son is constantly having an erection. It's not even normal. Like a 6-year-old child having an erection.
I would say that there are so many things to look out for. There might be a history of child abuse or molestation happening there. Another thing is erections happen, but they are not supposed to happen as often as that at that age because the hormones are not yet. So two things, it might be biologically, it might just be that the hormones are activated early. It might be as simple as that. But it could also mean that the child might have some psychological issues. Maybe the child has been molested in some way. So you have to, for someone like that, there has to be a discussion. There has to be an evaluation as well to ensure that it's not something else.
Right. Yeah, so you mentioned earlier that you can share your experiences with your child. Now, I'm worried about that because we all had a different, different experiences that looking back, it may not be very healthy to share that with a child who hasn't understood. So how do you know what to share, what is healthy for the child, and what not to share in a bid to be open to the child?
I'll say being a parent is really difficult. Let's not lie about it. It is. Every child of yours is different. Child A is different from child B. So even when I say these things, you have to understand your child. You have to observe your child as well. Because you might feel like it's okay to talk to child A about this experience at maybe age 18, and child B reaches age 18 and is not ready for that discussion yet. So every child is different. That's number one. Number two, when I say share your experiences, obviously there will be a conversation that will lead to sharing that experience. For example, when it comes to losing virginity, I tell people that if you take a survey and you ask people how their first experience was, a lot of people are not happy about their first experiences because it really wasn't the idea behind what they thought it would be. Because in a way, when you watch movies, you see this idea of sex being so beautiful, so wonderful. You can't wait for that first moment because of the way they paint it. So a lot of times, there's that mirage of the first experience. So sometimes to debunk that mirage, a parent might have to talk about their own first experience with their teenager, especially if she's in university where you know that she's about to go into that space of self-decision and deciding to be who she wants to be, you understand, or who he wants to be. So you might have to talk about your own first experience. If it was a bad experience and you learned something from it. I had a child whose first experience was in secondary school, and he had an STI from the first experience.
Oh my God.
And that was because it was just a friend who prepared the whole scenario and said you should go do it without wearing protection. So that happened to him for the first time. I mean, the very first time he would ever have sex, he had an STI. So imagine if it was HIV at the first experience. So imagine if someone else has spoken to him and said, you know what, these are some of the things you need to know before deciding that sexual journey of yours. These are some of the ways to protect yourself. These are some of the ways to prevent it. Because, you know, sometimes in our generation, it was just don't allow a man to touch you. Or else you'll get pregnant. And the guys didn't even get much of the sex ed. Because when I talk to my guy friends, a lot of them got passive sex education from their friends, uncle or something. They didn't really get the details of it. That's why we even have issues now.
I have to go on a quick break. Sorry to cut you off. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned.
Thanks for staying with us. YK, I think you had a question for her before the break.
Yes. There was this little girl in my nephew's school who got a crush on him. And because he didn't give her the time of day, she poisoned his soft drink and gave him to drink. But luckily, some of her friends had seen her do it and told him, don't drink it, it has been poisoned. That kind of child, what would you do? What kind of disciplinary measures would you take for that kind of child? Because me, as an adult, and I'm not trained to train, I would have gone haywire if I were my brother.
That's a crush gone bad.
Whoa!
I mean, it shows that that person doesn't understand first of all, that person doesn't understand what rejection is. Because even it goes down to even guys too. They also do not know how to handle rejection, even when it comes to having a crush or asking a girl out and she says no as well. So it goes both ways, both genders should learn how to deal with rejection. Number two is knowing what toxicity is, because obviously that girl is toxic and she has toxic traits in her. So that
she's 13 or 12.
Perception as well. I don't know what her family background is like. I don't know what home is like for her. Do you understand? So it might be a misunderstanding of what is ideal, a distortion. So for someone like that, a psychic evaluation should be done to really know what the motive was. And then another thing, obviously, disciplinary actions should be taken. Because if that case went the other way around, that would be a criminal case for sure.
Yeah, so for a 12-year-old?
Yes, that would be good. That's why we have things like juvenile. It's just that our juvenile system it's not very functional. But it should be, yes, he would be taken to juvenile court and be tried.
Yeah,
if something happens.
Okay, now I remember growing up, we were you know, forbidden to have relationships, to have boyfriends, and lots of people in that set would hide and do whatever they want to do and then come home and pretend. And we know that children actually, the kind of kids we have these days, that wouldn't fly. You can't just outrightly tell them, I don't want you to get into a relationship. Now, how do we encourage healthy dating? Because we have people who still get involved in dating, but then they know their boundaries. How do you now teach your child that it's okay to have a boyfriend, but these are the boundaries? What do you say to, you know, just not make them start pretending at home?
Yes, that's why I talk about sharing experiences. As a child will connect more with you when they know you've been in some level of that problem with them, or you've been in that situation too as well. But one thing is, you should sit that child down and define what healthy relationships look like.
Okay.
Let them have a picture of what is healthy so that they know what is unhealthy. Because a lot of times parents just say, oh, don't do this or don't do that, but they don't understand the reason why. They don't explain the reason why to the child. So you need to let that child know what healthy is, and let them know when they're taken for granted, let them know when they are mishandled, let them know when they're manipulated, let them know when they're coerced. So all of this needs to be understood, and let them know that they have the right to say yes or no to anything, because that's where consent comes into play. Because some people have gotten into issues because they did not know they had the right to say no to something. And let them know what love really looks like, because around that age, the definition of love is always distorted.
Fuzzy.
A lot of us don't really know what love is until it's been tried and it's gone through. So a lot of times they act out thinking they are acting out of love, not knowing that they're being coerced or they're being manipulated to take the wrong decision.
Okay, so what you're saying now, does it also apply to somebody who their daughter is already sexually active? So you found out from a third party that your daughter or your son is already doing the do. And you want to approach her. I mean, you also want to let her know, listen, I've been there. How do we start that conversation when you as a parent are feeling guilty that you failed?
If you find out, you should dive right in. It's not a time to try to make you rosy. No. Once you know that this child is already doing it, that means the child has made that decision to do it. Sit that child down and be direct. It's not about going round in circles. Let them know what abstinence is. Let them know what contraceptive is. Let them know what STIs are. Let them know what safe sex practices are. Let them know all of these things, because they have already gotten to that phase where they've decided to start that journey. You cannot stop them from making that journey. You can only advise. So the best thing is to dive right in and let her know or him know all their options and what it means and how that can influence their next phase of life. Because another thing is, when you teach so much about contraceptives, a lot of them forget that contraceptives also fail.
Right.
So let them also understand that, because sometimes people have this mindset that, oh, if I'm on a contraceptive, then I should be fine. But sometimes it fails. So are you ready for an unwanted pregnancy? You have to ask them. They have to answer that question, that just in case this becomes an unwanted pregnancy, am I ready for that journey of life? So this discussion is aired on. Once the child has started, there's no going around in circles. Just go straight to the point.
Okay, so also, I know Nigerian parents find it difficult to preach safe sex because of they feel it's unethical in this environment, because what we preach here is
abstinence. Abstinence,
totally and completely. In your view, in 2020, what are we now? 2021. Is it appropriate, is it ethical to start discussing safe sex?
I would say that I look at it this way. Imagine if we are in a place and they tell you, okay, these are the fire exits. These are where to go to if there's a fire. And you have that individual, you have another individual who is taught what to do if there's a fire, what to wear, how to stop the fire, and all of that. Who is more prepared if a fire starts? Is the person that has been given all the rules and regulations, who has been taught what to do, rather than the person who just knows there's a fire exit? What if something happens to those exits? The person is trapped.
Right.
So it's the same way I see it as well when it comes to talking about safe sex practices. Give them the information. Like I said, once they've gotten to a certain age, and that age is once they're teenagers and they're bloomed and they're ready to, sometimes it might even be earlier than, once you notice that that child already is aware of sex and knows what sex is, let them understand. Now, your point is to drive home abstinence. Yes, that is your point. You want to drive it home. However, you have to understand that that child also has the choice to make. That child is going to make their choice regardless of whether you're there or not. So in case you decide to go ahead with it, these are the things you need to know.
Fantastic.
And that is where talking about contraceptives, talking about what to do in case of unwanted pregnancies and all these things come into play.
All right, let me take this call.
I'll say that, yeah.
Let me take this call from Charles. He's been waiting for a while. Charles, are you there? Oh, we lost that call. I'm so sorry. Do try to call back. Any more questions? Do I have tweets for her?
Let's quickly look for tweets.
Opeyemi, you're giving us some really, really important information today.
Yeah.
Let me try to get a few more questions for you before we run off.
The tweets are loading, okay. But let me ask before we get the tweets. It's sometimes I feel that the topic of sex is very. I think a lot of parents shy away from it because, you know, you have children who you saw as babies, and no matter how big they become tomorrow, you still see them as babies. And now you can't even imagine the fact that somebody else at some point
Jesus Christ
will be lighting something. It's paining me. It's paining me already. But aside,
I mean, the first time I told, there was in the living room one day, my dad were having a conversation, and he asked me if I'd ever had sex before, and I said yes. And he looked at me straight and he was like, you told me. And I'm like, yes, you asked me a question. Do you want me to lie to you? And he looked at me funny.
Who asked to
and I was like, well, Dad, I'd rather tell you the truth than lie to you. I would rather you have this picture of me.
Did you get a slap?
Angelic picture of me.
Did you get a slap?
But I do understand that feeling as a parent where you don't want to see your child anything less than an angel. But the truth is that if we're going to be honest with ourselves, we were not angels. So why do we expect our children to be angels?
That's so true. But
can I take some tweets?
Okay, may I just finish? Yes. So how do you get your child to a point where they start trusting that they can have such conversations with you? Because I know that you're struggling in between being a parent and being a friend at the same time. And sometimes you're a parent, so when you're a parent, you need to give the orders and make sure you enforce it. Then you, at some point, you now bring yourself to that friendship where you give them a listening ear. How do you make them trusting of you that you wouldn't blow out when you hear certain things?
Yeah, and that's why I said sex education is not a one-time thing. It's a continuous thing. So today it might be something simple, tomorrow it might be something else. But let them have this idea that you are listening to. So when they ask you questions, don't be too quick to dismiss. Because sometimes they test the waters. Children test the waters. They ask you small questions, or they ask you side questions. My friend is doing this or something, just to see how you react, how you answer those questions. What they're trying to do is to see your tempo and see how you react before they come with the big one. So even when they ask you small questions like that, try to answer it. It might be, and especially children of today are very expressive. Very, very expressive. They want to know, they want to get the answers to their questions. So when they ask you these simple questions, answer it with love.
Okay, I have to let you go at this point.
Can I take some tweets?
Yeah, we'll take a few tweets. But okay, I have to let you go at this point. Let me take a few tweets before we run off. Yes, YK?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Billikis says, it's unfortunate we grew up with taboo culture and we still haven't got it right. Not being able to talk about sexuality openly is doing more harm than good. We want to improve, but many grown-ups do not know how to even start the conversation. Victor says, in my humble opinion, based on the humanistic dynamism, there really isn't a proper way to start off sexual convos with younger folk. Just start through any medium available. A jittery conversation, though, but expedient. Annie something says, I remembered my 5-year-old nephew asking me if I had an ex-boyfriend. And that was the greatest shock of my life. I had to ask him what ex-boyfriend means. My boy described it so well, I couldn't even say any words for more than 30 seconds.
Let me run about. Okay, before I let you go, just in 10 seconds, your final words on this, please.
My final word would be, parents, be confident. Find out all you can. Also, go and find out information. Don't just leave it on what you know. There's so much information out there. Learn about new things. Learn about new slangs. Learn about new things these teenagers are knowing, so that you can connect with them. And like Victor said, there's no way to start it. Just start it.
Fantastic.
Just go ahead with it. You might not get to try the first time, but the more you talk about it, the more you get used to talking to your
Fantastic.
child, the more you be open, more confident.
Thank you very much, Opeyemi. We'll be speaking to a reproductive health educationist, Opeyemi Adeyemi. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, ladies. I'm grateful. Thank you.
You too.
Say Ami.
Ami, what does that mean?
Because it is where. Let's go on a break. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Waiki was sharing us on gist, and I want you to say it on air, Waiki. Please, what happened? What happened?
My father, he threw the key of shame away a long time ago, you know. So when we visit him, he would be lying down naked and everything, and we'd just be lying down. So, you know, you learned not to look there, you just look at his face and be gisting with him. So, but when we took my daughter, that was the first time my daughter would see.
Granddaughter.
That's his grandchild. So she went to my sister. She says, "What is that thing hanging there?"
Jesus Christ.
So my sister sent her to my brother. She went to my brother. My brother looked at her and said, go and meet your mommy. So my father had seen her going for one and pointing at him. Then she came to him and says, what is she saying? He says, "What is that thing hanging there?" I don't know if I can say it. It's appropriate.
Don't say
Continue what his answer was.
But I'm sure that was inappropriate. So, let's move on to other topics. I even thought it was a television.
Get out, you're a very silly girl.
That was a TV.
Very
conversation. I didn't know was this.
I will tweet his answer. I will tweet his answer.
Okay, let's move on. A woman recently shared how she gave up 2 juicy opportunities because her pastor told her they were not God's will for her. According to her, she got a scholarship to Warwick, but she rejected it after her pastor told her it's not the will of God. She also added that she later got into Russell in London through a scholarship, but her pastor also told her that it's not the will of God. So we want to address the level of influence clergymen, not just pastors, religious leaders have over us. I know we've talked about this a few times, but where do we draw the line in limiting the influence of external factors on life-changing decisions? You can call us on 070-8066-804. You can also tweet us at TVC. Can I please hashtag UWTV? VC, so we can read the tweet. All right, I don't know what's good for VC.
Okay, I just feel that we are the ones who give spiritual heads too much power to start making decisions for us. That's what I feel. And I want to take it back to when we had, back in the days, the Bible days, when before you can have access to God and what he was thinking about a particular situation, you had to go through the prophet, and then the prophet had to go to God to hear from God. And he, in fact, as a matter of fact, you have to tie, there's a way they tie the rope around the waist of the prophet in case his sin allows God to crush him. You can just drag him. Once you don't hear anything again, you drag him out. And, you know, there was that distinction between who you speak to speak to God. But when Jesus died and resurrected on the 3rd day, the veil was torn from bottom to up, which meant that he gave us access to reach God. So you don't really need somebody else to hear who has a clearer signal to hear from God to tell you on how to handle your life situations. So as religious people, it's not just about Christianity. Now, I know that it happens across, across religion. You have gotten to a point where you can ask. You are going for a job. You have prepared for this job. You have been praying that God should answer you, and God sends you a job. You should ask him to speak to you directly.
Well, some people are spiritually deaf now.
No, you can't be a Christian and be spiritually deaf. That means you're not a Christian. We need to call it what it is. So now you are waiting on somebody to look at it. It's like suits, people they call seers. Yes. Look at it and say, it's clear, or you go. If everybody was waiting for that, how do you think we'll succeed?
Let's not make this too much about the church, because there it's so easy to get into the church bashing.
All religion here. Yeah.
So let us look at it, not just pastors, but anybody.
Yeah.
You could go to a counselor, you could go to somebody that you feel like is ahead of you, and that one says, honestly, I don't think this is a good decision, because they always tell everybody that you need a pastor's, or you need a spiritual head. They tell us that you need somebody who is like who is that person that sees ahead of you and who can give you directions.
Well, I don't think you should put counselors on the spot, because a counselor has been trained. A pastor has not been trained.
Sometimes pastors are trained.
A counselor has been trained, and so a counselor will not tell you,
don't take this job.
Do that.
Yes.
A counselor will tell you to weigh
the options.
They will advise you. Then you will make that decision by yourself.
Yes.
Now, in the other way, the spiritual heads will tell you, go. No,
don't.
I remember when we started my brother's band, Positive Force. So we had a lot of people from a certain church join the band. And there were about 3 or 4 of them that the pastor told them, you want to go and join Femi Kuti's band? No, don't join Femi Kuti's band, though. Go and join this other person's band. They took the decision on their own to join Femi Kuti's band. And then, of course, we started to tour, and things went well for everybody. And, you know, they now told us later, if we are taking our pastor's advice, we will not be where we are today. So, do you understand? You cannot... I think that pastors should... religious, I don't want to say pastors, religious leaders should make it more about making you make that decision for yourself.
But we've heard stories where religious leaders do actually guide people, and they guide them aright. And where you thank God for, thank God I shared this thing with my pastor. He guided me, he helped me to pray about it, and God was able to reveal. Because, you see, it's always good to generalize and assume that all pastors are fake or all pastors are behaving. These, I know people who have actually gone to pastors on certain issues, and God has given them guidance. So it works both ways. In this situation that we're discussing, the lady just probably needed somebody to validate, or to even, maybe she had no plans of actually traveling, and she just needed somebody to reinforce what exactly she was already thinking, to validate her own position. Because the truth is that whether somebody tells you go or not, at the end of the day, it is still your decision.
Bagam,
that's the truth.
If you have sense. So in this case, we're always in a hurry to blame the religious heads. Meanwhile, we are not using our brain. The brain was given to us for a reason. You have the logic. Your conscious mind is for logic. You're supposed to think through decisions and see where your options and see what works and what doesn't. You can now call on somebody else, maybe a religious head, for confirmation of what you have thought through or what you have prayed through, anyhow you want to go it. But now what we do is because we have not been taught the act of making decisions, and because we're afraid of making mistakes. Human beings generally do not like to make mistakes. They want, once I put my hand here, it must work this way. Forgetting that life comes with its adversity, which helps you become stronger. You have to go through certain things.
Now, for me, that's the valid point there, because we must be willing to make mistakes.
Yes.
Many successful people today will tell you they tried 1,000,000 times, 1,000 times, and failed several times. So that, for me, is the valid argument. So even if your pastor says no, even if you do it and you fail, it doesn't mean that, you took the wrong decision. You're better for it.
I don't blame only the pastors or the religious leaders. I want to blame us as well. Well, not me, because I wouldn't. But the thing is, when you go to your pastor, what you should, or your religious leader, what you should go is for prayers. I want to do this. Don't go for advice, because he's human like you. Please help me pray that whatever decision I take is the right decision. Not help me decide. Because if I decide, I'm not going to decide what is good for you. I will decide what is good for me.
What benefits you.
So if I'm going to pray for you to, if I'm going to advise you to go abroad and you are one of the biggest donors in my church, I will advise you to stay.
You got it.
Okay.
Listen.
There's a proverb in Yoruba that says that what an adult can see sitting down on the floor.
What an elder
can see sitting down. A child can never sit, even get on top of the tree.
The elder
the
is
same way,
his own future.
This in the same way, what your spiritual father can see, that's the truth, YK. What your spiritual father can see, you may not be able to see. Not because you don't have access, but because there's at a certain level.
There's nothing like that. Let's not deceive Christians.
Your spiritualist should just guide you with prayer. That's all. Let me tell you why I say that. When you take your child to school, for the first time, your child is 3 or 4, you take your child to school. Your instinct is to sit down in the class with the child. Right. Can you? Is it possible? It's not possible because the God that put you on this earth gave you eye, ear, nose, everything complete for you to be able to carry yourself through life. So the same way you drop your child in school
and trust.
That's all. Let me take this call. You leave the child. I'll come to that. Let me take this call. I think I have a call from Sean, I believe. Thanks for calling. Are you there?
Really stopped the
Hello, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, Mariah.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead. You're live.
Yeah, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show, Sean.
Thank you very much. I love the topic you are discussing this morning.
Yes.
And I love the illustration from the Word of God that one of you have made this morning concerning the vein. Yes, we have a lot of false prophets and false pastors around now, but for that part, it doesn't mean that we did not have a good spiritual father and good pastors and prophets that can tailor you, direct you, and teach you or advise you on what to do on a particular issue. Yes, we must be very watchful. For the fact that the veil has been torn does not mean that we should not look up to our spiritual father. We have Timothy, he has a spiritual father. We have Mark, he has a spiritual father. For the fact that even the veil has been torn, yes, we have even in the New Testament people that are looking unto their spiritual father.
Right.
If there's no spiritual father, that means our growth spiritually will be pegged to some things. Right. Mariah said something that there are some people that have a spiritual father who have already helped them to tailor their life on 1 or 2 things that they need to do.
Right.
Yes, we have fake prophets. The Bible says we should test all spirits.
Right.
And see to which one is the good one.
Thank you very much,
right. But the fact is that we must have a spiritual father.
Thank you very much, Shil. You see, let me tell you something. According to the Bible that we read, God has given different people different kinds of gifts. Some He gives them gifts of prophecy. Some He gives them gifts of they are seers. Some are pastors. He has given them various gifts. You as a person, yes, you have access. We all have access. But there are certain people that God has just given special gifts to. That you know that when you pray and ask them for their guidance, they can pray on your behalf and God can open certain things to them. That's the truth. Now, I don't expect a carnal mind or a fleshy mind to understand these things because these are things of the Spirit. I don't expect everybody to understand it. But those of us in that space understand it. So I don't want us to discredit the part of that spiritual guidance. Let's not discredit it. It works and it happens. But in some cases, you are also right that you as a person must also use your own thinking, your own God-given gift to also pray your own. So even if your spiritual leader says, go right, and you feel, no, sir, I'm going left. My own argument today is that you going left doesn't make you a bad person. Doesn't make you a failure. You can make your mistakes and go there. It's still okay because the world is full of mistakes. You will make mistakes, but find your path back to the right place. It doesn't make you don't regret the decision you make because you didn't follow your spiritual father. That for me is my own argument this morning.
I think it's an anomaly to teach religious people that till you have someone who vets every decision you want to make, that you will not succeed. Because there are people who do not have anybody that they go to make decisions and they're successful today. I think what we should emphasize, whether it's in the church, is in the mosque, wherever it is that we find ourselves, is that we should understand that God is in all of us.
Right.
You have that personal relationship. You should grow your personal relationship with God, and He can speak directly to you. There is no one person who has a clearer signal than you do. You have that signal. You just have not used it. You have not walked it, so you don't know how to access it. God speaks to us every day, but you are not listening. So your problem is because you're not listening. You think till somebody somebody else tells you that this is the way to go, that is the way you should go. It's an anomaly for me.
Let me ask Morayo one question.
Go ahead.
Morayo, do you think Bill Gates, the pastor told him not to make computer?
I'll answer that question after this break. Stay with us to be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back. Welcome back to Your View.
Thanks for staying with us. So before the break, Waike was asking me about Bill Gates. Let me tell you something, Waike. Waike.
Before you answer that question, I have to tell you. No. Yeah, she called her husband for this answer. So anything she says is her husband.
Expo on the show.
Expo?
You guys are very...
Go ahead. Give us the answer.
Anyways, the truth is that from the tender age of Bill Gates, he has never been confused about what he wanted to do. He was very clear on this issue of building computers. You see, so it would be madness for him to start consulting the pastor for direction, because he was not trying to be an athlete, he was not trying to be a doctor, he was not trying to be a salesperson. He was trying to create computers to help solve problems. So from a tender age, he was very clear on his direction. He doesn't need to engage anybody. That's why Bill Gates does not need the pastor. What we're asking is the person who has a dilemma. You're not clear where your future is, you're not clear where you're heading to, but now you need direction because you want somebody to advise you based on a spiritual direction. And that's why a woman like that can go to a pastor and say, please help me. But Bill Gates is not in question here because we are comparing apples with oranges. Focus on the fact that Bill Gates, from his tender age, he was clear on what he wanted to do.
So how can you have the Holy Spirit and be confused? Two of them don't work together.
No,
I've just responded to you now.
No, a human being is confused. No. A human being can be very confused on what to do. Haven't you been confused?
You have the Holy Spirit?
You have been confused about many things on what to do. Yes or no?
No,
excuse me, when you're confused
on what direction. I wanted many things.
Yes, same thing.
There's confusion now. It's different.
No. She wants to be in Nigeria, she wants to be in America, she wants to be in London. No. She wants to choose where should I go. There's a confusion.
She's not confused. She got a job. She got a job. Then she's the one that is donating the most in the church. And then she went to meet the pastor. The pastor said,
No, wait, that's not true. That's not true.
I'm assuming that when she got to the pastor said, this one that is... No, don't go.
Let's go back.
Stay in Nigeria. Stay in Nigeria. No, okay. Because let me tell you, I'm asking you, Shebi, when you are in a dilemma, what you do is you go and pray.
Yes.
Not go and meet another human being like yourself.
Pray first.
And I'm not saying that the spiritual fathers don't have spirituality. Because when you even see a pastor, or these men of God, when you see a real one, you feel that reverence. And you respect them. Oh, Father.
Yes.
Father.
But why can't
when you respect them, doesn't mean that because I respect you, that the decision that is concerning my life that I should take.
But do you know, YK, even you as a person, if you have a decision that you've made as a person, sometimes when you speak to a spiritual guide, it's not because you want them to say go left or right. You want them sometimes to confirm what you already know. Because the truth is that God has given some people that kind of gift to confirm to you. So the decision you are saying, I'm going to go right. Then you go and speak to your spiritual father, and he tells you, you know what? I have the belief that God is saying you should go this way. And he only confirms to you what you already know about yourself. So sometimes it's just that confirmation you need, not because you're telling them to be the one to decide for you.
Sometimes.
I don't think it's confirmation.
Sometimes when I'm dressing up, I have two choices. I will look, then I will call Salome. Salome, which one do you like?
Salome doesn't believe that there's a coronavirus.
I believe that one. Salome will say, she will say she likes the one I don't like. So I will call another person. Which one do you like? Then I will say, okay, 2 out of 3. By the time it is 4 out of 3 people, I will say, okay. The decision at the end of the day
is yours.
Is mine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And
so I'm looking for the one that will go to the way that me I like, not the way Salome likes.
Anyways, I think we should stop blaming our religious heads.
Yes.
We should own up to our responsibility and our decisions. So open your eyes and take your decisions and understand that in as much as they are spiritual heads, they are still human beings.
Yes.
And people would advise you based on how it affects them personally.
Yes.
And it's not about you. I'm telling you, that's the honest truth.
Yes.
I have seen situations where a member of an organization, a religious body, wanted to relocate to another place. And because she was the highest tithe-paying member of that organization, she was advised not to go. Why? Of course, it will affect the tithing that comes in. And
no,
hold on. So you are coming and thinking this person is a spirit.
That's not being
I'm talking
fair.
from personal experience.
She's talking about another story. It's not this your own story.
It's not this story I'm talking about.
It's not your story.
Personal. So you are feeling that this person is a spiritual head, should give me advice based on how it affects me. The person will put himself first. Nobody can love you more than you more than they love themselves. So when you are getting advice, you need to be very clear on what exactly you are getting. And if you can pray and study your scriptures, God can speak to you through his word. I've gotten revelations through the word of God. I open it and that scripture just speaks to me concerning that situation.
Excuse me,
and
there are some that will come to shrine. Some of these religious heads, they will say, they have a message from Fela for me. Or for my brother. My brother is the one that I love his answer. Go back and tell Fela that you should come and tell me directly. Not come through you. Which kind of message
pause for a second.
is that?
People come to your shrine, say that they are hearing from Fela who has died.
See, so
he's in heaven.
and he's dead. Not any of his relation. He has children, he has nieces, he has nephews. It is you that we don't know before.
Okay.
So Femi will not tell them. So that's why I'm saying, Femi say, please go when you go back to the dream. Help me ask Fela to come back and tell me directly that I can't answer you.
Okay, my own final words on this. I agree with BC, and I'm talking from personal experience.
Okay.
I have had that spiritual growth myself where I prayed over an issue, and I felt that God wanted me to do a certain thing. And because I know I have spiritual fathers, Pastor Ito used to be my spiritual father when I used to go to Christ Church. Now he has moved to the Trinity House in the island. I don't go there anymore. But there was a time that he was like a spiritual father to me, and I'll call him concerning an issue. He said, Mura, I'll pray about it. And then when he calls me, usually, based on what he discusses with me, I know that it's a confirmation to what God has already told me. So many of us are not going to pastors to tell us, go right or go left. We're just asking God to please confirm, because God can confirm to you in different ways. It can be somebody that you didn't even, that's not a pastor, comes to you and say, I think you should even travel to this country. And it's like, for you, it's a confirmation based on what God has already told you. So I don't think it's fair to say pastors are telling you what to do. Pastors can only confirm to you what God has already revealed to you by himself. Shikena.
The majority of the people are going to be told what to do. So you are spoken for yourself as someone who understands the word of God. Not everyone who goes into those places understand the power they have as Christians.
On that note, thank you very much.
You can't take your child to school and write the exam for her.
Let her face
Have a fabulous day, guys. We thank you very much, YK.
See you guys
See you tomorrow. Bye for now.